Hey guys, what's up? It's Salt God here, and I'm here to bring you some more Salt God rapid fire reviews. Today I feel like doing the German premium ships, so I'm gonna go over each of the German ships in the entire tech tree and give out some pros, cons, prices, whether they're worth it or not, if they're fun, and hopefully we can get some of the new players some insight if they feel like maybe making like an investment into this game, and make sure that they make a worthwhile investment, something that they don't feel like they've lost anything out of. So let's start at the very bottom. This is the Tech 2 ship, Emden. You can get this ship in the Armory for 1.8 thousand doubloons. It is an exact clone of the Tier 2 ship in the main tech tree, the Dresden. It's an exact copy. It's got a fast reload, and it's a decent DD hunter. It's got 10 105 millimeter guns, which for Tier 2 is pretty. It's alright, not great, not bad. It has the shortest range of all light cruisers. So that very narrowly makes it hard to engage with other ships. It has a very low speed, and believe it or not, the secondaries on the ship are cosmetic only, which is pretty weird. So these turrets right here, they won't fire at all because they're just there to look pretty. And that's really all you can say about the Emden. Like I said, it's an exact copy of the Tier 2 ship that's already out there. Like I said, you can get this for 1.8 thousand doubloons. Would I recommend getting it? Definitely not. I'm not really a fan of these clone ships, and you can get this ship for free. Why bother? That's all I'm going to say about it. Not worth it, not for new players. And moving on to the Tier 3 Koenig Albert. Now, this is also a copy of the Tier 4 German battleship, the Kaiser. And it's got pretty much the exact same everything, the hull, the turrets, the turret layout, superstructure, yada yada yada. It's a really borderline overpowered ship at Tier 3. Just because of how tanky it is, the secondaries, all that. That being said, it's also unobtainable. So you can't really get it, and that is a big shame. The guns are pretty overpowered at that tier, and the shells have really good ballistics, so they have a good trajectory, they have a good shell velocity, and they're really good at pinning at that tier. It has some of the best secondaries. How many does it have? Yeah, that's a lot. 4, 8, 14. This thing's just decked out in secondaries at Tier 3. It also has the most HP at this tier at 41,300. Now, the downsides are it has a really slow turret traverse. These are some pretty big guns for this tier, so they're going to be a little slow. It has really bad AA, and it has a relatively short range for the main battery, and it has bad torpedo protection. So if these secondaries can't defend you from a DD, you're going to feel the pain once those torps start coming. That bad AA doesn't really work well in this meta either. So if you're going to run into a lot of CVs at this tier, unfortunately. I don't think that's really going to stop this ship from being still relatively, overpowered. And they removed it for the game for a reason, and it still kind of holds up in that regard. Now, between Tier 2 and 3, you don't get any other German premium ships at all in Tier 4 and 5. And that's a real shame. I really think they need to fix that. But what we have next is the Prince Eitel Friedrich. This is a Tier 6 battle cruiser. You can get it for $28 in the premium shop. You can get it for 7.1 thousand doubloons in the armory. And what I do like about this ship is that it is a unique hull. It's the only, it's not a copy or a clone ship. It's the only version of this hull in the game. That being said, its aesthetic is basically what you get when you smash a Congo and a Bayern together. And I do really believe that. But this ship, what it has going for it is a very heavy secondary battery. It has some of the best secondaries at Tier 6, being said. It has a really high speed, and it has good HE penetration. Let me pull that up real quick. HE pins 88 millimeters of armor, and that's pretty good for Tier 6. It has a slightly faster reload. It's not 30 seconds, 28 seconds, but you know, the extra 2 seconds ends up mattering. Now, for some of the bad things about this ship, it has pretty weak armor for a German ship. You know, German ships tend to have that motif of being really, really well armored, really tanky, and really slow for that reason. So, in exchange for being like one of the fastest German battleships, it sheds a lot of that armor right off. And that's just one of those things you're going to have to live with. It's a ship that has a secondaries built for brawling, but it has the armor that requires kiting. At least during the first half of the game. Once the battle drags on a bit, you can definitely get in close to the ship, and you have the speed to do it, and the secondaries to do it. And these guns can hold their own, but if you know, early in the battle, you kind of want to maintain that distance. But that being said, it's fast, but it's not very nimble. And while the HE penetration is good, the HE damage is really lackluster. You get the HE damage at 4,000 per shell, and you're never going to get it to 4,000. It's still going to be pretty anemic. But the Prince Idol Friedrich is pretty good in my book, especially if you kind of know the inner workings of this ship. As I was demonstrating earlier, I do believe this ship might be worth it. Maybe not for the new player, but for a player that's gotten their toes in the pool a little bit and kind of has a feel for the game. This is a ship definitely worth picking up. And what we have next is the Tier 6 German destroyer, the T-61. Now, this ship you can get for $22.80 in the premium shop. You can get it for 4.9 thousand doubloons in the armory. That being said, it's not a unique ship. It's a clone of the Tier 6 Ernst Gade. It's not really a ship that really pops out aesthetically. So there's nothing unique in that regard. But it has the second largest HP pool of any DD at this tier, I think, except for maybe the Eagle. But for Tier 6, this ship has like, you know, Tier 7, Tier 8 HP for a DD. It has probably some of the best torps at Tier 6. They reload really, really fast, 68 seconds, and they have pretty much not the most range, but as much range as you could probably need at this tier. You're not going to find like 12 kilometer, 15 kilometer torps at Tier 6, but 8 kilometers is pretty dang good. I will say that. They have good detection, they have decent speed, decent damage, but they reload really fast, and that's what matters at this tier. And on top of that, this ship is a pretty good all-arounder. Maybe not in the AA department, but pretty much all the stats kind of line up about the same. The guns are reliable in a pinch. It does have some pretty bad AA. It has the really bad German smoke. That's, if you're used to playing the DD line, then you're kind of used to that. Not something worth not getting it over. This ship also has a really bad weakness to armor-piercing shells in general, like from the enemy. Do I believe the ship to be worth it? I honestly don't tend to find ships that are clones of other ships to be relatively worth it. I mean, it's not up a tier, down a tier. It's just an Ernst Gade at the same tier, looking the same, just with a slightly more focused built towards torpedoes instead of, I mean, guns. I mean, the Germans aren't really known for their guns anyways, but this is a true and well torpedo boat for the German line in that regard, though. At tier 6, I'd probably say it's probably one of the better torpedo boats. I would definitely say it's not for the new-ish player, but again, probably the intermediate level player. What do we have next? The Graf Spee, the tier 6 cruiser, or as most would probably refer to as a battle cruiser. There's a lot going on for this ship. At the time, it was the first large cruiser or battle cruiser, whichever you want to call it, and that made it really unique. It's $20, 4.7 thousand doubloons. And again, this is a unique hull. There's no other ship like this in the game. Doubt they're going to come up with a German cruiser, heavy cruiser line that features this ship at all. You never know, but for now it stands alone. It has a huge amount of health points. It has the largest guns of all cruisers up until tier 9. And these are Scharnhorst guns. It has 2 of them. And those are from a tier 7 battleship. They're 283 millimeters. It has great torpedoes and torpedo angles. These are the torpedo launchers here. And they can fire almost directly in front and directly behind this ship. They go 8 kilometers. They're very reliable. And again, you can shoot them off at almost any angle. And that makes this ship a really dangerous threat close up. Not just because of the torpedoes, but because of the guns, because of the large amount of secondaries it has for a cruiser. So this is just a real in-your-face kind of ship with an in-your-face playstyle. That being said, you kind of want to stick to the rules of don't rush until half the enemy team is dead. Just keep that mentality, and this ship could probably give you heaven on earth. It has decent AA, reliable AA, not the best. It has pretty good torpedo protection for a cruiser, 22%. That's not too bad. It's not the best, but it's reliable. Now for the downsides. It has the worst tier 6 cruiser accuracy in the game. If we could pull up the dispersion, 170 meters. That's, with mods that help with that. But because it has these big guns, there's going to be some downsides. That being the long reload and the bad accuracy. So you got to take that. It has the worst accuracy, the slowest reload, and the longer lasting fires. It's not 60 seconds, but it's right in the middle, about 45 seconds. And that could be a long time to burn for a ship at tier 6 with 40,000 HP. Do I believe the ship to be worth it? Yes. This ship offers a pretty unique gameplay experience that you can't really get until much later in the game for a lot more money. You can't get this kind of play style for free either, especially not at tier 6. So this ship, I do believe, has a lot going for it. You just got to work with the downsides and, put them to your advantage. What do we got left? T61, Z39. Let's go ahead with the Scharnhorst. Now, the Scharnhorst has 2 models currently out, the Scharnhorst and the Scharnhorst Black. I do believe this one to be the more aesthetically pleasing model for various reasons, but some people tend to like the historical accuracy because this ship did exist in real life. So I'm going to leave this one up. Now you can get the ship for $39.20 in the premium shop, and 9.8 thousand doubloons in the armory, I believe. Now this is a pretty unique hull. It's very similar to the Gneiss now, but the turrets, the superstructure, the secondaries kind of have their own thing going. Now these are the same guns that are found on the Graf Spee, but at tier 7 you have 3 of them. These guns are fast. In pretty much most regards, it has a very fast trajectory. For a battleship, it has a really fast reload. For a cruiser, not so much. But fast turret traverse, fast reload, pretty much anything gun related, this thing does it fast. The Torps, it's one of the few, I think one of 5 battleships with torpedoes right now. I think there's 6, but more on that later. So this is a real in-your-face kind of ship. It has pretty much all the advantages that the Graf Spee had, but on a faster hull with more HP. Good guns for close range, good secondaries for close range, torpedoes that will just ruin your day. It has really good speed and range, especially for a ship of its size and its speed. Now, that being said, the HE on the ship is really lackluster. It doesn't really start many fires, and it doesn't do that much damage. It's not a cruiser, so it doesn't have that built-in HE penetration buff that a lot of the German cruisers get. It doesn't have that. It's not good against other battleships. These guns just don't pack the necessary punch to combat other battleships. This is more of a anti-cruiser, maybe anti-DD with HE, but mainly an anti-cruiser battleship. Now, it does have torpedoes, so if you do find yourself going up against one, you do have a lot going for you, but these guns aren't going to be what save you. The accuracy, even though they've had like an accuracy buff, still not that great. What's it at? 259 maximum dispersion. This isn't built for that, but let me see what my... Well, this one isn't built for that either. Disregard that, but the accuracy still sucks. And that's about all I can say for this ship. Is it worth it? Not as much as it used to be. It used to be one of those ships that everybody would recommend buying because of how fun it could be. But the meta's changed. There's a lot more ships out than there used to be. Everybody kind of knows that the ship has torpedoes now. Not everybody used to know that. That being said, I still would say that this is one of those ships that is good for a player of any caliber. Newcomer, intermediate, experts. I would say that this ship is definitely worth it. Now, the Z39. This ship is $24.80 in the premium shop, I believe. I don't think it's in the armory for doubloons. I might be wrong. This is a similar hull to the Tier 7 Moss, I believe. So the hull isn't extremely unique. It is the lowest tier destroyer with a dual linked turret, but it's only got the one. It's got 2 more in the back, but they're single rails. Now, this ship is packing the largest destroyer caliber guns at one of the lowest tiers. These are 150mm guns that are built for cruisers. The Koenig, the Nuremberg, the mains have 150 caliber guns. These ones to be specific, but they mounted this on a destroyer. What that means is at Tier 7, there are some cruisers out there that this ship can reliably citadel. And that means you can get the ship to do a lot of work for you, especially at this tier when there's not that much radar. You're going to run into it at higher tiers, obviously, but with the right playstyle, you can make the AP on this ship work really well for you. It has the highest HP of any Tier 7 destroyer, I believe. 19,600. That's like Tier 9 territory. I know that the Summers doesn't even have that much, and that's a Tier 10 destroyer. It has access to Tier 8 tools. So what that means is you can mount upgrade slot 5 to this DD. That's something no other ship can do, because that's something only Tier 8 ships can do. You do have the higher tier hydroacoustic search, so 5 kilometers. So it's pretty cool that this is a lower tier ship with higher tier functionality. Now, the bad thing about this ship is that it does lose one gun. I do believe the Tier 8 version of the ship has a turret right there. And so in exchange for getting all the Tier 8 stuff, you lose some of the Tier 8 stuff. So you lose the gun. It has really weak AA, and it has pretty anemic shell damage. Now, I do believe that shell damage to be remedied a bit in the recent buff to this. They recently buffed German destroyer HE penetration to kind of match with the cruisers. And this being 150 millimeter guns, I believe that anemic damage to kind of be alleviated a good bit, but time will tell. Do I believe that this ship is worth it? For a beginner, probably not. This is more of a competitive ship, I believe. You'll probably see the ship a lot in ranked, or ranked sprint, or clan sprint, brawls, whichever. Simply because of the higher tier functionality you can get out of it, but that requires a skill set that a lot of new players aren't going to have quite yet. So I'd reserve this one for later, once you get your skill sets up, your knowledge base up, and I would save this ship for them. Let's move on to Tier 8. Now, I don't have the Graf Zeppelin, but I do have the Graf Zeppelin B. And, oh lord, where do I start? You can get the ship for $56 in the premium store, and you can get it for 14,000 doubloons in the armory. It's a unique hull for now. They are going to add a tech tree version of this ship, and they are going to add a down-tiered premium ship version of this at Tier 6. I believe I'm going to go do a quick rundown of that after this, just to show what I mean. Now, it has the most accurate secondaries in game for a battleship, or for a cruiser. Cut that out. The most accurate secondaries in game for a carrier. Now, the reason I get it mixed up is because of how much damage this thing can put out. It can be a cruiser if it needs to be, just from how much fire this thing can bring down. It has a lot of secondaries. It has the range secondaries need to do so much damage. It has really good penetration. This ship will ruin your life if you get close to it. Now, this ship isn't all about the secondaries. The planes are the fastest planes in game, and it's pretty tanky for a CV. Like, it's not... Let me pull up the armor. It's not the weakest armor scheme you've ever seen. It's got places where it can be pretty thick. And that can help you out against close quarters combat when you need those secondaries to kind of save your life. That being said, obviously this has some pretty bad negatives. It has really poor plane agility. So the ability to get these planes back on target after you finish a strike is going to be a bit more time consuming. It has the weakest torpedoes of any CV, I believe, at this tier anyways. It does have 3 torps per launch, but they just don't do a lot of damage. They don't have a lot of speed. They're really slow. Even if you have the torpedo speed captain perk, it still feels really sluggish. It also has the worst concealment. I'm not sure if this is built for it, but my concealment in this ship right now is 15.7 kilometers. No, I'm not. This thing isn't built for concealment, so that's just how much it naturally is. 15.7. That's pretty bad. Do I believe the ship to be worth it? Right now, it does offer a very unique playstyle that you can't get anywhere for now. There is going to be a tier 8 version of this ship for free. There's going to be a tier 6 version of this ship for less. Now that I've pretty much gotten that out of the way, we can go ahead and take a look at the tier 6 version. The secondary layout is almost entirely the same. You do lose 1 secondary turret right here. So it is very possible to get that tier 8 ship at tier 6 and all of its unique gameplay aspects that go along with it. So I'm going to say that no, the ship probably isn't worth your money, but it is a lot of fun. So it's a weird mix. I will leave it at that. Tier 8 battleship, the Tirpitz. This is probably one of my favorite ships. It's the first premium ship I ever got when I first started out. You can get it for $51.20 in the premium shop. You can get it for 12.5 thousand doubloons in the armory. This is a clone of the tier 8 ship that you can get for free in the tech tree, the Bismarck. I did not know that when I got this. Had I known that, I probably might have gotten something else. But I didn't have the Bismarck when I got this, and boy did I have a lot of fun with this ship. It has really fast turret characteristics. It has a relatively fast reload, turning radius. It's one of the 5 battleships with torps, and that's one of the unique features of the ship. It loses the Bismarck's hydro. In exchange, you get 2 quadruple launchers. It has a very well protected citadel. Is very tanky and very well armored. It's pretty thick belts there, here, and there. Drop it down. So you won't get citadeled a lot in this ship, which really solidifies its ability to be a really in-your-face, brawling kind of ship, and a lot of people like that. It just gets people's blood going, you know. Now, it has some of the best secondaries in game. They're very numerous, they're very rapid firing, and they have really good penetration values. That being said, it has some pretty weak deck armor, so it's very HE sensitive, and that's probably one of the few things that's going to slow this ship down. So you do have to watch the HE fire spam before you decide what to do with this ship. Just kind of have good situational awareness. Know which ships to avoid. Make sure that they're probably dead before you do, the close range knife fighting with this. The torpedoes are pretty weak. It does have them, but they're pretty weak. They go 6 knots. They do a moderate amount of damage, but they get taken out really easily. You'll get into like brawling distance when you really need to use them, and then at that last second, they'll just get destroyed. And that's probably one of the most heartbreaking things that you can run into. It does have weaker anti-air than its sister ship, the Bismarck. So I do believe it's not crazy bad, but when you're going up against ships with armor-piercing shell or armor-piercing bombs, they will eat you alive. So ships like the Graf Zeppelin that does have armor-piercing bombs, the Shokaku, the Enterprise, all at tier 8. That weak deck armor, that's one of the weaknesses of this ship, it will be your Achilles heel. You will lose 20,000 health in the blink of an eye to plain bombs. Would I recommend this ship? I'm a bit on the fence. I do have a detestment for clone ships, but this ship does have a special place in my heart. It's a historical ship, for one. That's one of those things that's just kind of hard to look away from. It has a really great history to it. It still has really good guns, it has really good secondaries, torpedoes. It's a really nice brawling battleship. It's really user-friendly. And if you really know what you're doing, this ship can put in a lot of work for you. So I would definitely say I could recommend this ship. I know I've recommended it to people before, but this is probably one of those ships that I don't want to say newer players can get into, but you do have to have a mindset for it. They do call this ship the Tirpitz for a reason, and that is because players that don't really know how to use it will just charge in thinking they're invincible. Get that out of your mind right now. And just keep those things in mind when you look into getting this ship. But I do think I'd say I could recommend it. It's pretty nice. Moving on to the Tier 8 cruiser, the Mains. I believe that's how you call it. Well, either way. Now, you can get this ship for $45.20 in the premium shop. 11.3 thousand doubloons in the armory. I'd say this is a similar hull. It's not a clone, but it's very close to the other tier 8 cruisers that the Germans have, the Prince Eugen and the Hipper. The only difference is, I think, the turrets, so it's not an exact clone, but the turrets are what make the ship different than the others, so we'll get into that. It has really high DPM. It has the tier 6 Nuremberg turrets, 150 millimeters, and it has 4 of them. They reload every 6 seconds, and they have a super high shell velocity of 960 meters per second. It has a massive torpedo armament. These are the torpedo layouts you'd find on the Hindenburg, or maybe the Rune, I forget. But definitely the Hindenburg at tier 10. 4 quadruple launchers, 2 per side. It has really good ballistics. Like I said, 960 meters per second. It's really easy to put those shots down range with a great deal of accuracy. You don't got to do a lot of the guesswork. These ships will just FedEx those shells to you, same day delivery, It has really good hydro. Let me pull that up. The hydro is the high tier hydro. So 6 kilometer ship detection, 4 kilometer torpedo detection. That's pretty good at tier 8. Now, it has really bad concealment. That being said, 13.4, where you have ships like the Cleveland that are very similar to the ship, the high volume gun light cruiser kind of motif. This ship is not very stealthy when it comes to that regard. There's other ships like it, the Bayard, again the Cleveland, that are a lot stealthier options. This ship just doesn't have that going for it. It's really sluggish and slow. So what I mean is it's not very agile. The speed doesn't get really high. It's like 33 knots. Yeah, 33.6. And the turning radius is pretty big, and the rudder ship just feels like it takes ages for a cruiser that's supposed to be or look as light as it is, especially in terms of its contemporaries. The turrets also have really weak armor. Let me see if I can pull that up. Yeah, 80 millimeters, 35, 32. These turrets will just get knocked out pretty handily. That's just one of those things that can be mitigated by better positioning and better situational awareness. I think for that reliance alone, I couldn't rate this ship as something for new players. I would say definitely get your knowledge base up, especially in terms of maps, enemy ships, what you're facing, before you invest in a ship like this. Because this is a really high precision instrument in my regards. Now, there was one last note. Oh yeah, the AA. Cleveland has really good AA. The Bayard has decent AA. This ship also, like the others, pretty good AA. I'm gonna end it on that. Now, let's see. The last tier 8, the Prince Eugen. This ship's pretty cool. They've definitely changed it a lot from its first inception. You can get this for $45.20 in the premium shop, I believe. This is a clone ship of the tier 8 ship that you can get for free, the Hipper, with a pretty unique set of goodies, I would say. Now, there was a time, maybe 2 years ago, when there was nothing different about this ship than the Hipper. Wargaming somehow managed to get people to pay $45 for nothing more than a ship that was already in the game for free. But thankfully they've changed that. They've made some modifications to it, and let's see. The best difference from this ship than the Hipper is it has access to a repair party, 4 of them. So the ship can heal itself from a decent amount of damage. And that's something that a lot of other tier 9s or a lot of other tier 8s can't do until they get to tier 9. And that makes this ship a whole lot more competitive, a whole lot more survivable in both random or competitive settings. It has really good ballistics. The German shells have, the usual bad dispersion for battleships, but the cruisers are really well known for being pretty accurate, having the really good HE, like the built-in IFHE, the better HE penetration, and being really fast. They have a really nice high shell velocity. This ship does also have torpedoes. It doesn't have as many as the mains, but it has 4 triple launchers, 2 on each side. It has a decent 3 secondaries per side. I thought it was 4. But it has good torps. It has the really good German hydro, 6-kilometer detection. And it has it has pretty decent and reliable AA. So this ship can deter a CV in some regards, but not entirely. Now, some of the negatives, obviously, if you're going to get a tier 9 heal, you're going to have to give up something in its place. And in this case, this ship's main battery takes 13 seconds to reload versus the slightly faster reload of the Tier 8 Hipper. The concealment and rudder shift are equally sluggish like they were in the mains. That just seems to be like a German heavy cruiser thing. And the HE damage can be pretty anemic. It does have really good HE pin, but it doesn't have really good HE damage. That's just one of those trade-offs. But overall, would I recommend this ship? I want to say yes. It is a clone ship, but it does offer like a really competitive playstyle that might be useful in like a Tier 8 ranked or ranked sprint if they have that. The ship has a lot more survivability than other Tier 8 cruisers, and I think that makes it pretty recommendable. So I would say yeah, go ahead and get it if you feel like it. It's not one of those must-haves, but it's pretty nice. Let's see, is that all the Tier 8s? It's Odin. Now we got the Odin. I don't have the ship yet. Technically, I wouldn't even say it's officially out yet, but people do have it. The only way to get this ship right now is through the dockyard, so it's going to take a decent bit of grinding, but it is a very unique battleship for the most part. It's a bit of Scharnhorst mixed with a bit of Tirpitz and like a hint of Bismarck. Now, what I mean by that is it has the hydro of the Bismarck. It has the torpedoes of the Tirpitz, of the Scharnhorst, and it has the fast reloading turrets, low caliber turrets that the Scharnhorst has. So it's a really good middle ground for all of the Tier 7, Tier 8 battleships that the Germans already have. Really good middle ground, all of them like smashed together. I do find that to be pretty interesting. Not necessarily bad. I kind of like it. I mean, it looks great. These are not the 283s that the Scharnhorst has. They're 305 millimeters. They do reload in 23 seconds. The turret traverses pretty fast. The velocity seems reliable. Decent range. Probably suboptimal HE usage. It doesn't look like it's going to set many fires, which you kind of want to do if you're going to have a ship that only has 305 millimeter guns, when other ships of this tier have 406s. AA seems alright. This thing is maybe a little bit more bow tankish than some of the other German ships. The Tirpitz doesn't have a secondary turret right here. None of the other Germans do. So basically what that means is that this is one of the few German ships that can use some of its secondary firepower aiming directly in front of or directly behind. Before, if you were straight bow on, you would get no secondary usage. The secondaries on the ship are pretty good. It looks like they're going to have the really good long range, high penetration secondaries that the battleships generally have. Would I recommend this ship? Yeah, I would say so. It's pretty fast. It's a pretty chunky battle cruiser. It's not in Alaska. I don't think it was really meant to be. But it's a battleship at Tier 8 instead of a cruiser at Tier 9. And I can segue right into the next ship because there is a version of this that is a cruiser at Tier 9 called the Aegir. You can get this ship for $77.20 in the premium shop, and 1 million free XP on the tech tree. Now, this has a lot of the same firepower as the Odin that I just previously mentioned. It has the 305 millimeter guns, reload 20 seconds, so 3 second faster reload. A little bit better range. Well, actually, I'd probably say the range is about the same, but this ship is built for range, simply because I own it. Let's see. You got the Nordic camo, and you have the regular camo. Now, this ship, it has, I believe, the HE penetration bonus, like the built-in IFHE that German cruisers usually get. So this 305mm artillery can penetrate 76mm of armor, which is pretty good. You might find yourself using the HE on the ship a bit more than the AP for that reason alone, especially during the opening engagements when the range isn't quite solidified yet. So you're going to start off with HE, getting close towards the later half of the game, use AP, things like that. It has a decent set of secondaries for a cruiser. They're not as good as the Siegfrieds, the other Tier 9 battlecruiser. But they're plentiful, and they have a pretty decent range. The AA defense on the ship is really good. It does have torpedoes, 2 quadruple launchers there in the back. These are the usual battleship torpedoes, so not a lot of range, but they are there when you need it. What more can be said about this ship? It burns like any other battle cruiser, like the Alaska does. It's not gonna, bow tank like the Alaska can. This is more of a kiting ship, so you kind of need to stay mobile. Would I recommend getting this ship? So this ship is $1 million free XP, and it's $77.20. That's asking for a lot. So I'm going to put it in terms of, would I recommend getting this ship over ships like the Alaska, or other ships like the Siegfried? I believe one-on-one, this ship could beat an Alaska. That is one-on-one. I do believe it's a bit more competitive. Its ability to have torpedoes, which the other battle cruisers don't have, I believe makes it a better duelist. But for the regular gamer, for people playing in randoms, I do believe the Alaska is better. It does have radar. It does have the same guns, same reload. It just seems to perform a lot better in randoms. But I do believe this to be the better competitive alternative. And I believe I'll leave it at that. The other Tier 9 battlecruiser, Siegfried. What can be said about this ship? It's like 46,000, 42,000 research bureau points, and that's like 3 or 4 lines regrinded to get this ship. That really depends. As for now, that's the only way to get this. Now, if it looks a bit similar, that's probably because this is the Tier 7 German battleship Gneisenau, just at Tier 9 in a cruiser capacity. So that being said, it has the largest cruiser, or the largest guns on a cruiser technically, but they're really just the Gneisenau guns on a cruiser. They have a decent reload. It has a decent turret rotation. I don't own this ship, so everything I'm doing, I've gauged from the stats or from what I've seen playing. It has really good secondaries. It has the, I believe, the 11.3 secondary range, which the A gear doesn't get. For a cruiser, that's pretty good. It's got 1, 2, 3, about 4 per side. It does have torpedoes. It has pretty decent AA. It has a high top speed. It's not very good at concealment. It does have a pretty big turning radius. It's not as agile as the A gear. It does have a pretty good firing range and pretty decent chunk of hit points there. Pretty good torpedo protection for a cruiser. The armor layouts, let's see. I'm not really sure how to gauge the ship's armor, honestly. I'm not the best reader of it, but I do believe it to be relatively well protected. Do I believe that the Siegfried is worth it? Yeah, I'm actually kind of interested in getting it. The only way to get it is through a method that requires basically no money. So this is one of those ships you actually have to work for, but it is free. And I think on that mention alone, I would recommend this. Having a battleship at tier 9 is pretty nice. Again, it has the largest cruiser guns. And I think that's about all I can say about it. Now, technically, that is the last ship to go over. Pretty much everything else is coming out. There's the Z-35. Don't really know much about that ship, but I don't think it's going to be too special. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it looks just like the tier 8 ship that just doesn't have the 150mm guns, the Z-23. That's about really all I can say about it. The torpedoes don't look that great, yada yada yada. Now this ship does look interesting, the Ludendorff. Basically they took the tier 10 battleship and gave it the Musashi treatment. So they weakened some aspects of it and they dropped it a tier. I do think that makes this ship pretty cool. I do like the Musashi, and I believe I'll like this ship as well. Now the trade-offs for being down tiered are it's not a nerf to its AA, it's a nerf to its gun size. So it doesn't have the 406s or the 420s that the first has. There's 380s. So basically the tier 8, what are the tier? Well, the Bismarck guns, the Gneisenau gun size. It's going to have 12 of those in 4 turrets. It's going to have some pretty hefty secondaries. It's going to have torpedoes. See, they seem to be the general battleship torpedoes for the Germans. It's going to be a long reload on those guns. 33 seconds. Decent turret traverse. Really bad dispersion. Christ. Mediocre fire chance. It's got decent AA, a decent top speed. Really, it's not very nimble. 940-meter turning radius. The rudder shift looks atrocious. The concealment looks god awful. But that's just one of those trade-offs you get when you have a tier 10 ship dropped. Do I believe it's going to be worth it? It depends on what they decide to sell it for. Coal, yeah, definitely worth it. Money, probably not. Doubloons, probably not. I do hope it's for coal. But I would probably recommend this ship. I know that the Musashi does really well, and I know it's probably a stretch to hope that this is going to be the next second coming of the Musashi, but I don't think it will be. But you never know. So let's hope it's for coal. That's pretty much all the ships there are. There's one tier 10 CV, but I believe that's just a testing CV for the tech tree that they're coming out with, so I don't think they're actually going to implement that. So on that note, I believe we can now end this. We've now gone over every premium ship in the German arsenal. I hope that out of this video you've gained some knowledge, some tips, some interesting ways to view how to play these ships, and you just hopefully that it helps you make the right purchase. I want people's money to go to what can actually be worth it and not to something that they're going to regret. It's just one of those things that I always hate, but anyways, have a good evening, guys. Catch you on the next vid.